Assalamu alaikum, dear brothers and sisters. As we honor the master of the ladies of paradise and the daughter of the holy prophet, Sayyidah Fatima Zahra alayhi salam, we also honor her attributes, her virtues, the sacrifices she made, and we also take lessons from her life that our everyday lives. So for this speech, I want to talk about her as an ideal youth, an ideal parent, as well as the lessons we can learn from her speech, which she gave after the land of Fadak was usurped from her. So with this, I would like to begin my speech. As we all know, Sayyidah Fatima Zahra had a very rough childhood. She grew up witnessing the death of her mother, the insults and the abuse thrown at her father, the torture, the persecution that thrown at her fellow Muslims, and finally had to endure eviction from her home. Now imagine it was you in this situation. Imagine if you had lost your mother at the age of 5, had to watch your loved ones being insulted, tortured, and starved, as well as being starved yourself. Imagine growing up in an environment where everyone around you hates you for what you are, and to top it all off, imagine finally being evicted from your home. Such a childhood would be considered to be a traumatic childhood, and such a person going through these experiences would not come out sane. Such a person would lose faith easily and give up hope very easily. In fact, many of our dear youth face very serious problems today, such as unemployment, poverty, depression, Islamophobia. And many of our youth over there in the Muslim countries face problems such as persecution, war, and sanctions. Against all of this, it's very easy for our youth to give up hope and stop believing. But Sayyidah Fatima Zahra was no ordinary youth. Despite all that she had to witness and endure in her childhood, she remained steadfast and a follower of Allah and His Prophet, peace be upon him. We see her devotion to her father when she tends to his wounds sustained from the stones thrown by the pagans, when she cleans the camel intestines thrown by the tyrant Abu Jahl, and when she removes the thorns placed by the pagans on the Prophet's doorstep. In fact, as we all know, the Prophet referred to her as the mother to her father. This clearly shows that Sayyidah Fatima Zahra never lost her faith, even during the hardest times of Islam. Now, this is not to say that the problems of the youth face today are mundane or insignificant. Rather, to say that there is always hope for them. That if one has faith in Allah, then one will not see sadness and sorrow and the pain and struggles they endure, but only beauty. In fact, we see this in the children of Sayyidah Fatima Zahra at the Battle of Karbala, where Imam al-Hussein and the Sayyidah Zainab, peace be upon them, continued to serve the religion of Islam despite all the pain they had to endure. And with this, I would like to transition into the next section on Sayyidah Fatima Zahra as an excellent parent. I would like, can I get a loud salawat, please? A good parent is generally one that takes care of their children and loves their children. But a great parent is one that sets an excellent example for their child. And in this regard, Sayyidah Fatima Zahra was the best parent. Fatima Zahra, peace be upon her, was a woman of generosity, humility, and a woman who always sought to enjoy the good and forbid the evil. And it is these traits, among many others, that she would pass on to her children. For example, there is the famous story of her and her family breaking their fast with only water for 3 consecutive days, because first they gave their food to a poor person, then to an orphan, and then to a freed prisoner. When looking at this, it is easy to see why Imam al-Hassan would provide shelter to anyone in need, even if they cursed him or his family. And it's easy to see why Imam al-Hussein had spent almost all that he had inherited to help the poor and the needy. We also see humbleness from Sayyidah Fatima Zahra. One example is how she treats her housemaid. The status of Fatima Zahra is one that cannot be comprehended. She is above all kings, emperors, and emirs, and she knew that. Yet despite all that, despite her high status, she treated her servant with the utmost respect and dignity, even splitting chores with her. And we see this level of humility in her children. For example, there's an instance in Imam al-Hassan's life when a Syrian man came and cursed him. Despite the high status of the Imam as a representative of Allah on earth, the Imam simply offered to help the man with anything he needed, rather than respond with anything else, any other harsh response. And finally, the one very great trait that Sayyidah Fatima Zahra had passed on to her children was the love for enjoining the good and forbidding the evil. When we see Imam al-Hussein, peace be upon him, at Karbala, or Sayyidah Zainab, peace be upon her, and the court of Yazid condemning him, it is not hard to see Lady Fatima Zahra in them, as both Imam Hussein and Sayyidah Zainab had learned to never be afraid of tyrants and usurpers by witnessing their mother in the mosque of the Holy Prophet, condemning those who had usurped the right of Imam Ali alayhi salam to the caliphate and usurped the land of Fadak, which was given to her by the Holy Prophet. And with this, I would like to move to the next section of the speech on the sermon of Fatima Zahra in the land of Fadak. Can I get a loud salawat, please? With regards to Sayyidah Fatima Zahra and their sermon, the main lesson I think we can learn from Sayyidah Fatima Zahra alayhi salam's sermon is to never be afraid of defending your rights and to speak truth to power. The problem today is sometimes we are too willing to compromise on our beliefs, our principles, and our dignity in order to avoid a confrontation, disunity, or simply avoiding upsetting those around us. Now, one should never seek any of those things. However, in matters that concern one's faith, rights, and dignity, one should never be afraid to stand up for oneself. And this we see with Sayyidah Fatima Zahra, where she spoke out in defense of her rights against her oppressors, not holding anything back against them. And I would like to read an excerpt from her sermon on the land of Fadak, which really shows this. Thus, when Allah the Almighty exalted His Prophet from this perishable world towards the abode of His prophets and His chosen ones, the thorns of hypocrisy became manifest in you, and the mantle of your religion gave, and the astray ones who were silent until yesterday suddenly started shrieking. The degraded, the mean ones came out of their burrows into open ground, and the valiant ones of the polytheists of falsehood started roaring. Now these are very people who have taken the reins of authority into their hands, and Satan has raised his head from the place of his concealment, inviting you towards evil. Thus he found you to be amongst those accepting his invitation, and you held him in esteem with the intention of securing position or being deceived. Satan has invited you to rebel and found you to be among the base and the meanest of people. When he incited your rage, thus you became enraged. Then you started to snatch the rights of others and entered the spring that did not belong to you. And you did all this when not much time had passed since the passing of the Prophet. And the wound of his death was deep, and our hearts have not yet healed. And the corpse of the Prophet was not even laid to rest in the grave. Here we see that Sayyidah Fatima Zahra does not hold back in her criticism of the so-called companions of the Holy Prophet who usurped her right. Yes, she may not seek confrontation, but she is not averse to it either when the situation calls for it. She simply defends her dignity and her rights with her eloquent speech, unafraid of any backlash she will receive if she does. It is from this we can always learn to preserve our dignity and to be fearless in the face of injustice, and to always stand up for our rights and our beliefs with our voices. Finally, I would like to conclude the speech with a quote from Imam Hassan al-Askari that really sums up the status Sayyidah Fatima Zahra has in our religion. I believe it was Imam Hassan al-Askari. I might be wrong. We the Imams are hujjah over man. The quote is, "We the Imams are hujjah over mankind, while Lady Fatima Zahra is a hujjah over us." Thank you. Ya Fatima.